Buddhist science is a study on Buddhism based on facts and science.
The Buddha is a human being. Venerable Rungruan Papartsaro. Dr. Rungruan Limchu Pataba. The origin of Buddhism began about 2,600 years ago, when the Siddhartha Gautama was born in the northern part of Indian subcontinent. He was a prince of a kingdom located close to the Himalayas in Nepal. At the age of 29, he realized the transitions of life through seeing people being old, sick, and dead. This vision initiated him deciding to start his journey in searching for the real meaning of life. After 6 years of searching the meaning of life, he finally was able to reach the state of enlightenment, of which can be explained in modern terms as the discovery of the truths of life within nature. Thereafter, he began his teachings by sharing his knowledge with other people and then founding the Buddhism in the world. Although Buddhism is conceptually a religion, but it is distinguished from all other religions in the sense that his teachings are focused on understanding the truths of life within nature, not about the God or any supernatural figures or any kinds of miracles. The Buddhism is a religion teaching about how to improve the quality of life by studying on the truths of life within nature based on facts and science, as the Buddha explained about his teachings as follows.
My teachings are about the facts of life within nature that already existed in nature. I just guide you to experience and to understand about the facts of matters, nothing else.
Therefore, studying in Buddhism implies that we are studying on the truths of life within nature as well. The Buddha explained that we can check that if the teachings are as to the real Buddha's words or not, by verifying such statements based on facts. In principle, we have to understand that the Buddhism is based on studying in the nature, and it is different from all other conventional beliefs which rely on gods, or any kinds of supernatural powers. The Buddha never claimed that he was a godlike person, but indeed he was simply a human being who discovered the truths of life and then using this knowledge to improve the quality of life. Any human being can study and gain this knowledge to be a noble person. The Buddhism is kind of universal knowledge for mankind, and the Buddha's teachings suggested that everyone could realize the true meanings of life by performing an introspective observation as an insight experiment to gain wisdom, and then using this knowledge to improve the life quality in coping with the world. It was an ancient science of 2,600 years ago. In this Buddhist science study, we will follow the Theravada suttas, which are considered as the collective suttas of early Buddhism, and we will investigate the Buddha's teachings from the aspect of scientific knowledge in searching for the truths of life within nature. In Buddhism, having the faith by following a set of morality norm, is simply a primary step for a life development. Conceptually, having faithful belief is necessary, but it is not sufficient to be able to develop one's life completely. In Buddha's teachings, do no evil and do only merit are just foundations for learning of the truths of life. Then by observing how the mind is, we will then gain wisdom to purify the mind. Most religions teach only about the molarity level of do no evil and do only merit with faithful belief, but in Buddhism, following instructions and having morality is still not enough. In addition, the mind must be trained and developed so that the mind will know what is good and what is evil by itself, not by any one wish or order. According to the Buddha's contemporary scriptures saying that before the Buddha passed away, his followers asked him what the Buddhists should build to remember of him, and he answered that he gave permission for his followers to build the 4 holy sites related to the life of the Buddha, in order to have something to be remembered of him, that is, Lumbini, as the birthplace of the Buddha; Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha attained enlightenment; Sarnath, where the Buddha began to spread Buddhist teachings to the world; Kushinagar, the place where the Buddha passed away. The 4 holy sites were built in honor of the Buddha, and the 4 holy sites were strong material evidence proving that the Buddha is a real person in history. And later on, about 200 years, 260 BC, after the Buddha passed away, the four holy sites were rebuilt in a grand style and with full ornate decoration by the Emperor Asoka. The Emperor Asoka was a real person who lived only about 200 years after the Buddha's time, so these people in the Asoka period must know that the Buddha was a real person quite well. In addition, Emperor Asoka built the Asoka pillars with script engraved into the stone pillars praising the Buddha and identifying the locations of the holy sites specifically. Therefore, factually Buddhism establishment and the Buddhist period in India history were real, not just a fairy tale. Although historically, all the four holy sites and many other Buddhist documents were later destroyed, burned, and demolished by the invasions of other violent religious followers, fortunately the locations were recorded by 3 Chinese pilgrims who traveled to the sacred places of Buddhism in the 5th and the 7th centuries CE. The historical records of the 3 Chinese pilgrims traveling from China to India, namely Fa Xian AD 404-14, Xianzang AD 630-640, and Yixing AD 672-697 were strong historical supporting evidence documenting that Buddhism was a very prosperous religion in the Indian subcontinent, Middle Asia, Far East Asia, and Southeast Asia, covering almost half of the ancient world at that time. There are several records of the old written sources of the 3 Chinese pilgrims. The greatest Buddhist archaeological discoveries were the finding of the Buddhist monuments by Sir Alexander Cunningham, who was the founder of Indian archaeology during the period of 1835 to 1861. This archaeology discovery was complemented by the script translation of Mr. James Prinsep, who was first able to read the Asoka writings revealing the story of Buddhism during the Asoka period in India history. And later on, during the period 1895 to 1897, Dr. A. Führer, conducting an archaeological survey of India, cleared the base of the Asokan pillar and exposed an Asokan inscription identifying the site with Lumbini, the birthplace of the Buddha. He then further proceeded to identify a series of other sites associated with the life of the Buddha, leading Dr. Führer to conclude that all the sacred Buddha sites have been satisfactorily identified. With all of these evidences, both from the textual documents and the archaeological sources, finally lead to the conclusion that the Buddha was a real person and the starting of Buddhism in India was a real event in Indian history, as is called the Buddhist period in India, beginning at almost 2,600 years ago in the northern part of Indian subcontinent. The original Buddhism is simple and pure. During the early Buddhist period, the studying of the Buddhism was based on facts and science. However, later on this ideology was contaminated and mixed with supernatural story, and downgrading the Buddhism like the other ordinary religions, and later on even the Hindu also assumed the Buddha as one of the Hindu gods. These kinds of distorted teachings eventually polluted the Buddhism so gravely that the Buddhism were deteriorated and demolished out from the Indian subcontinent, ending the Buddhist period in India.